The dust of the wilderness still clung to the Israelites' sandals as they camped by the shores of the Red Sea, their hearts pounding not with triumph, but with terror. Just days before, they had marched out of Egypt as free men and women, their children laughing, their flocks bleating in the cool night air, liberated by the hand of God Himself after 10 devastating plagues had shattered Pharaoh's defiance. But now, the distant rumble of hooves and chariots shook the earth, and the horizon darkened with the approach of an army. Pharaoh, his heart hardened once more, had rallied his finest warriors, his golden chariots gleaming in the sun, his soldiers thirsting for vengeance. "Were there no graves in Egypt that you brought us to die in the wilderness?" the people cried to Moses, their voices raw with betrayal. The sea roared before them, an insurmountable barrier, its waves crashing like the jaws of death, while behind them, the glint of Egyptian spears drew nearer, the air thick with the stench of sweat, leather, and iron. Moses, his face lined with exhaustion but his spirit unbroken, lifted his hands to the heavens and cried out to God, and in that moment, the Lord answered, "Why do you cry to me? Tell the people to go forward." Then, as Moses raised his staff over the waters, a divine wind unlike any natural gale screamed down from the skies, a tempest sent not to destroy, but to deliver. The very laws of nature bent before their eyes, the sea convulsed, the waves recoiled, and the depths were torn in two, revealing a path of dry ground between walls of water that towered like glass, shimmering in the fading light. A stunned silence fell, then shouts, prayers, the frantic gathering of children and animals as the people surged forward, their sandals slapping against the seabed, their breath ragged with fear and wonder. Behind them, the Egyptians hesitated, their horses rearing in panic at the unnatural sight, but Pharaoh, blind with rage, roared the order to pursue. The chariots thundered into the sea, their wheels churning the wet sand, their drivers lashing their steeds onward, but God looked down from the pillar of fire and cloud, and in an instant, chaos erupted. The walls of water trembled, the sea groaned, and with a roar like the voice of God Himself, the waves collapsed upon the army, crushing chariots, swallowing horses and warriors, dragging the pride of Egypt into the abyss. Not a man survived. On the far shore, the Israelites turned back, their eyes wide with disbelief, their hands trembling as they watched the waters settle, the last bubbles of Pharaoh's might vanishing beneath the surface. Then, as the first light of dawn touched the waves, a cry erupted from the crowd, a song of deliverance, of triumph, of a God who fights for His people. Miriam snatched up her tambourine, the women dancing, the men shouting praises, while Moses stood in awe, his staff still clutched in his hand, knowing this day would echo through eternity, the day the sea parted, the day death became life, the day faith was rewarded with a miracle.